In the new world, the concept of supervision is dead. So there's no concept of this multiple hierarchies. If the person has very high energy, very high intent, and that belief in that mission,
Okay.
level up. I think everybody needs to execute. First thing, very clearly, including me. We pioneered the concept of global investing. The mistake that I made was that I would think that if I were to get an X person who has had 20 years or 15 years of experience, my chances of success will
Be high.
And I think that's the wrong thing.
You'll rarely see anyone who's created a lot of value but hasn't taken some of these bets.
If you are going into a new industry, come in with a fresh mind.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rupali, and this is Matrix Moments People First, a conversational series where we cover the stories of remarkable founders who have built successful ventures by building an amazing team around them. In today's episode, I have with me Ashish Kashyap, founder and CEO of INDMoney. While Ashish doesn't need any introduction, but I'll try to still give one. He started his career in the early days as the India head for Google, country head for Google, has seen very successful ventures in different sectors like travel tech and payment, PayU and GoIbibo, seen massive scales merger and acquisitions, RedBus, and a merger with Make My Trip. And now he's building a super app called INDMoney, which helps consumer to plan, save, and invest. So Ashish, welcome to Matrix Moments People First. For the viewers' reference, I think this episode is very special, primarily because Ashish is my super boss and he's been like a mentor. So I think I couldn't have been more happy to be hosting you today. So Ashish, while you know that I am very biased towards what you're building, I have been a very early day adopter. But for everyone else, I would love to know what you're building in INDMoney, how big is the team, and what are the problems the team is focusing to solve at this stage.
Firstly, thank you, Rupali, for having me over. And what a lovely office here in Gurgaon.
Yes, yes.
And of course, you've been part of my journey, quite significantly. You've seen the whole journey of scaling RedBus, the journey of GoIbibo and Make My Trip merger.
Yes.
I think telling you the story will be even harder. But I will give mine.
Likewise at my end, Ashish.
Thank you for inviting.
No, pleasure is ours.
Coming to your question, so we are building a personal finance application with the core widget book of enabling consumers to invest. And also, while the consumers invest, they're able to plan and they manage their entire finances in a single place. If you look at the big problem statement before INDMoney, there were not a single place for consumers to be able to manage their fragmented finances. And from that very engine, be able to invest and reach their milestone. And while it may sound overwhelming, what we tried to do at INDMoney was to make it very, very trivial and very, very simple. And by innovating at the mouth of the funnel, for example, we pioneered the concept of global investing, which means that enabling consumers to invest in global stocks like Apple, Google, products which they use every day. These companies create a lot of value from India, but we wanted to give an opportunity for consumers to create value out of these companies by investing. It was not accessible. We made it accessible by launching US Stocks Engine, and not just US Stocks Engine, even a neobank or a digital bank, which helped consumers to perform their outward and inward remittance and be able to basically manage their banking transaction in this. And we made it very easy, paperless, and simple. As a result, there was a huge, significant surge of users coming into INDMoney invest. And because they came for this reason, they started then using the product for all other reasons, such as planning, tracking all their goals, and to be able to connect all their bank accounts and so on and so forth. Our new hero of the product is invest your small change in the Indian stock market. We believe that everyone here should get an opportunity to participate in the Indian growth story. we feel that, investing in Indian stock market seems like a very overwhelming thing for a normal, common salaried individual of this country. And we wanted to make it, or we wanted to massify it.
Yeah.
And as a result, we're now introducing a new hook to the mouth of the funnel, which is investing your small change in the Indian stock market. Again, it's combined with the fact that there's the trading engine and then there's a newer bank. I won't go into the deeper nuances. And we're obviously, this helps us to go we've done the 0 to 1, 1 to 10 journey. Now we're, going from 10 to 100 journey.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff helps us to move from our current 6 to 7 million users to the next 50 million users.
Wonderful. And how big is the team?
So we're 300 people. Obviously, there's a lot of a bias towards service and, over-investing in service. So there are about 100 plus people in service. Being financial services, you would imagine that servicing, even though we may automate bots, etc., at the end of the day, there are multiple edge cases which needs to be served. KYC is still complicated. And, what we try and do is that we try and serve the consumers really well. And then other than that, we have about 150 people in tech and product.
Okay.
So it's largely on one side, tech and product, and on the other side is really serving the consumers fast.
And I hear you're expanding to Bangalore?
Yes. So we've already expanded to Bangalore.
Okay.
We have a substantial amount of our tech team members and data science team members out of bank.
So welcome to Bangalore.
Pretty much story itself, just like IBIBO. We had GoIbibo, and then we had the GoIbibo Bangalore office, and RedBus acquisition. We had a significant presence in Bangalore, so which will always take me between these cities.
Yes, wonderful. Ashish, you've been a serial entrepreneur. You've done it right again and again and again. I'm sure you have a framework that you refer to, especially around org building, right? I know it might not be feasible to just crunch it up, but I would love to understand what your framework that you've used, while building the INDMoney team.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And perhaps I would say that the toughest part of building is not just a unique idea, but really being both either through hit and trial or through luck, getting that team right. I think a common element of it, Rupali, is that during the 0 to 1 phase, you don't know. Because it's almost like the orchestra playing right. So you do a little bit of pick and try. But in general, I think the playbook out here is that you want to get people who are able to think about execution first and execution in ambiguity. Because 0 to 1 and some parts of 1 to 10 is completely ambiguous.
Yeah.
Once your systems and engines are set and, you have X amount of PAU or traffic coming in and converting, etc., at that time, it's more predictable. But during these journeys, it's completely unpredictable. And the people who are able to execute in ambiguity are the ones who thrive.
Okay.
So I think what is very important is at this moment of time, you want to get those people necessarily are not wanting to be able to get a ready-made playbook.
Okay. Because there's none.
There's none. They're the ones who are ready to dirty their hands.
Yeah.
So even if in this part of the journey, you say, I have a head of tech, CTO, you want him to behave like a software engineer also. He needs to dirty his or her hands. As a founder, entrepreneur, if you focus on product or sales, you want to dirty your hands, go out there. Because at the end of the day, if the 0 to 1 team is dirtying their hands, that's the time they're learning the most. And that's the time they're also reducing the ambiguity and creating more specifics and then going towards product.
Yeah. So am I right to assume when you're building for 0 to 1, you're looking at more mindset than skills maybe?
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
And does your filter change when you're hiring for growth?
Yes, I think there is a bit of a change because, of course, there will be people in the 0 to 1 journey who would have evolved and would have started understanding scale. So how do I serve 1 million people versus how do I serve 1,000 people, right? So there would be people who transform, but when you are building up your team during the growth phase, at that time, you really look at slightly different kind of skills. You still want people who are able to tackle ambiguity in startups, who are going to build micro startups or new ideas all the time. But there will be a bias towards people being able to sketch playbooks on top of things which are working.
True.
So that's really important. For example, if you say that, listen, what's going to be the playbook of, let's say, if KYC is failing? It's so you need a person who's able to sketch things on top of it. But then this is not really ambiguous. This is very specific, right? Because let's say KYC is failing and somebody has to build a playbook on top of it. It's very clear what the objectives are. So you would typically build, or you would try and bring in people who can think large scale, who can think these kind of processes and playbooks operating at much larger concurrent scale than the
Okay. So what's your hack in the sense when because early stage, right? You're prioritizing a lot of things. So there is always this dichotomy, and just like in product, right? It is for people build, buy, borrow. How do you balance it? It's build versus buy versus borrow or outsource.
So I think the core has to be built.
Okay.
Because if you don't build, you won't learn. So the aim in this is that you need to build experience of micro failure, small failure, iterate, build another iteration, and then finally start to get the product market fit. The issue is if you borrow or outsource, you don't get these cycles.
Yeah.
And I doubt if you'll ever get to a product market.
Yeah. So similarly, you'll invest in people.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. Got it. But tell me, Ashish, I'm sure you've had your share of mistakes learning, right? Any of these org building learning, failures, if I have to quote unquote, from your PayU and GoIbibo days that you have, you've taken and you've ensured that you don't repeat some of them when you build IND.
So let me talk about IND first, right? And then
so you're still making mistakes.
Yeah, we make mistakes.
Yeah, we all
I think we shouldn't be scared of making mistakes. But typically, if you see, I try to build it these new kind of industries when payments was a very deep trust. Similarly, financial services was new. And the mistake that I made was that I would think that if I were to get an X person who has had 20 years or 15 years of experience in a particular space, my chances of success will
be high.
And I think that's the wrong thing. The same thing if you go back, Rupali, if you look at your entire RedBus team, for example, nobody came from the bus industry or bus ticketing industry. All the talent that you brought in was very diverse. Same thing if you look at GoIbibo, the OTA business. A lot of talent didn't come from the OTA background or a travel company like X or a offline travel tools operator. So I think this is a mistake which, I have made. I did make in the recently, which was to assume that if I bring someone with years of experience, that person is going to come in and solve the problem. Now, the problem with that is that these people usually have trained their mind to work in a particular way. Whereas companies like us are supposed to disrupt the way these companies worked in the past.
True.
And, I think that's one of the things I would really think, if you are going into a new industry, let's come in with a fresh mind.
Yeah. So, Ashish, at this point in time, if somebody is thinking to start up or is starting up, as someone who's done it a couple of times, what would be your advice to budding new founders, entrepreneurs on what should be their framework of starting to build a team around them?
Yeah, I think the first thing that they need to think about is that what was needed for them to do a proof of concept, POC, in the next 4 weeks or 5.
Okay.
So let's say if there is a team which is wanting to build a product, enterprise space, consumer space, irrespective. I'm the key, especially in tech, I would really encourage them to first think, what will it take for me to do a proof of concept in front of my addressable sample audience? And can I do that in 3 to 4 to 6 months? One of the big mistakes we all make when we think of an idea, if that idea gets executed after 12 months, the world has changed. You haven't learned anything. And in all probability, you got tired. Once you start thinking that, okay, what would it take to get this proof of concept, and then maybe minimum viable product, then you need to see what resources or teams you need, what co-founders do. Because what happens is that if your framework is that I'm going to launch the MVP after 8 months, then you're spending all your time only hiring.
Mm.
You don't want to do that. I'm not saying you will be able to do MVPs and POCs just all alone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to get into that optimal situation where you got those 3-4 people with you, believe in your idea, believe in you, who are willing to take risks, who are okay working in highest amounts of ambiguity. And then, these are the people who are able to work with you in those 4 to 5 weeks, take it to POC, maybe a small failure, and then in the next 3 weeks, an iteration, and then maybe 8 weeks, you get, yes, aha moment. So you want to reduce those cycles.
Got it. So I remember when you started, right? Startup wasn't as romanticized as it is now, right? But you still managed to rally in people around you. I know people who've been with you when PayU went to GoIbibo. I know people who worked with you in GoIbibo are with you in money at this point in time. Tell me from that point of view, Ashish, what does it take for someone to not survive but thrive in a startup ecosystem?
That core team needs to firstly not only believe in the mission, but it also needs to own it.
Yes.
Not only be owners in terms of ESOPs and equity, but actually own that core aim. For example, at INDMoney, our focus is that, listen, we want to make financial services accessible, democratized. Everybody in India should participate in India growth story. India is going to grow, obviously. And this whole aim everybody believes in, especially first the core team needs to believe in, and then gets percolated. If that belief isn't there, then whatever you would do, it won't ever work out. So the belief needs to be there. Challenge is that the 0 to 1 journey, not everyone will believe. So there will be sifting, there will be believers, and then there'll be non-believers, there'll be skeptics. So during that phase, when you're trying to get the MVP, product market fit, you will have certain people falling off. But the believers, owners, stakeholders, then they need to stick with you for the long haul. Till the time you unlock value, till the time you kind of really become a very, very, very scaled company.
Yeah, but I think I like this because I'll double click on this. You'll rarely see anyone who's created a lot of value but hasn't taken some of these bets.
Correct.
I think that's the dichotomy of the stage. It takes time to build conviction, but unless you've taken it, you can't create something.
Correct.
So I've got a couple of rapid fires for you, and I want impromptu answer. Okay, what's your management style?
Quick decision making.
Who makes it in INDMoney?
If somebody's not making, I will make it very fast.
Okay. Any comment on Elon Musk's leadership style?
I personally admire it.
What's your deal breaker question during interviews, when you take interviews?
If the person is not able to tell me a single impact that person may have created in his life or her life.
Okay. Will AI take our jobs away?
Some jobs, yes.
Okay.
For sure. But I think many jobs is going to augment.
When will you decide to level up or let go a person?
Okay, so if the person has very high energy, very high intent, and that belief in that mission, level up.
Okay.
When that person is very highly skilled, but all these are completely negative, which means very low intent, low energy, even though the best skills, I would say let's part ways.
Got it. Yeah. So Ashish, I remember in GoIbibo, you were one of the first few, at least in my memory, one of the first few founded to decide that you will make the QA team redundant. You decided that developers could double hat as QAs because you felt it was their fiduciary responsibility to ensure a high quality product, is being shipped out. Recent news, Airbnb has made the product manager role as is a bit redundant and made it product marketing manager. And I thought you would resonate, right? So would love to understand your point of view on this. Do you see Indian companies?
No, I mean, look, so here's my view, right? Number one is that in the new world, the concept of supervision is dead. So there's no concept of this multiple hierarchies, and there'll be a manager and there'll be another manager, and then there'll be some executor. I think everybody needs to execute. First thing, very clearly, including me. So I till date wireframe, I till date write PR product requirement documents. I till date get involved in design to the T. I till date look at every part of analytics hands on. Similarly, each of my tech leaders need to write code themselves. So that's the first philosophy. Second philosophy is that tech teams need to be full stack, which means that the backend developers need to write their own QA automation scripts. That cannot be outsourced to anyone. The simple reason for that is that it's very difficult for a central QA team to understand the context and use cases, especially in a fintech company like ours. The third one is that I think even DevOps, the same thing is going to happen. That it'll be the responsibility of the eng leaders or of all the pod managers to manage their own DevOps. DevOps is becoming in the cloud is really becoming critical. I think it's changing. We haven't yet changed, but we are on that path. The other part is on the product. I can give you an example of how we operate products. So if you look at many companies, especially in fintech space, you will have a product manager, you will have an analyst, you will have a program manager, you'll have somebody for business development. So which means that let's assume there's a fixed deposit product on the fintech platform. For a fixed deposit product, the fintech will typically have a person who's dealing with a bank or NBFC. There'll be a separate person. There'll be a separate person managing program, separate person managing the analytics of it, and a product manager sketching journeys and funnels, etc. At INDMoney, we keep it a full stack role for a product manager. It's product manager's role not just to improve conversion rates and sketch the funnels, but also to manage the P&L, deal with the external constituents. So a full stack product manager and grow it, which means that you're absolutely reducing the communication lines and you can execute at 10x the speed.
Ashish, thank you so much. This is amazing. Wishing you all the best as you would take IND to the next level. I am excited. The OCD in me is very excited about the fact that there is a product which helps me plan everything. I can see it neat, clean. So thank you for what you're building. Big fan, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to hosting you more often.
Thank you.
So if you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have enjoyed hosting it, and you'd love to know more of these founder stories, do follow us. And if you want us to cover a particular topic or a particular founder, do reach out to us, and I will share the details in our show notes. Thank you so much.